We can, we might go ahead and do that. And we can, we might.
Doing pretty good. Well, I feel good. Probably because I'm suffocating under the bed.
Oh, we have something for next month. We'll just roll you over. Those cases are coming in left and right.
And I can see it, I'm not blind, I can read it a little bit.
We'll call the meeting to order at 5:41. Drew, would you mind to provide our invocation, please?
Pray with me, please. Father God, as always, we are grateful to be in your presence and to serve our community. Lord, I just pray that you help us to do it well. Give us the wisdom and grace to do so. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Roll call, please.
Whitney Kerr, Shane Knight, Clint Horner,
Here.
Drew Jackson,
Here.
Kevin Keener.
Here. First item of business is consideration approval of minutes, planning commission meeting from October 20th, 2020.
I do have one request in terms of minutes, and that it's, if when we make a specific motion, that motion be recorded as stated rather than generically. I know this last time we had at least one revision to make sure that we had language right, and I just want to make sure that language communicates to city council appropriately. We have had some confusion in that in the past where the message was not conveyed via minutes, so I'm fine with abbreviated notes, but I do want the motions to reflect as stated.
Thank you. I agree with that.
Danielle, do you happen to remember the exact language? I think it was approval of, revision of some of the ordinances. We had to make a specific.
Let me look at the minutes, but I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I do not. We can.
Can I just maybe, with the approval request, that staff go back and edit that motion prior to council meeting?
Yeah, we can do that. And just so that you know, the minutes, it depends on which it was the revocable permit. Because I think that was the only one you guys heard because there was no other cases that went to planning the city council in November. And that would have been that meeting. The revocable permit was already approved by the city council. So it might be kind of null at this point as far as the.
Okay. One of the reasons that I said that, if you remember, one of the most contentious items that we came through was, approving mobile home. The motion for that approval had, very specific language, so that we would set a very strict precedence. That language never made it through to council. I just want to make sure, when we have recommendations that those are specific.
We can definitely make sure that is done. And if you'd like, we can go back and make sure that's done on these particular minutes.
Okay.
Let me go grab the minutes real quick. So I'm trying to remember what we
Are you
had at the
referring to
last meeting.
regional? Is that the regional minutes? Because I don't think that's the regular.
No, there wasn't any motions that were made at regional.
I don't know where okay.
Let's see.
Oh, that's where the mobile home was brought up.
No, that's a whole different case before you got here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, because I'm thinking, I'm trying. I got you.
let's see. Yeah, the only one that at that meeting, at the regular meeting, was the calendar and the revocable permit. And both of those items were heard by city council and
I
well, one of
think,
them
I
October.
think
the
it was
other
on this
November.
one, it was the his or her designee. Because we talked about how it's a couple of places that said city manager would have to do
Right,
this, city
yes.
manager would have to do this.
And
so-
that did make it in the ordinance.
And we added the
itself.
like,
Yes, there was two his or her designees in there,
right?
and both of those did make it in the ordinance.
So anyways, just to mention, I didn't think that this was necessarily a huge issue on this one,
Right,
but
but
again,
definitely,
fine with taking, notes rather than minutes, but
Right.
when it comes to the motion, I'd like to have that.
okay, we can do it two ways. We can either go ahead and go back and do the motion for that specific, or change the motion to what you exactly said from the October meeting, and then we can go ahead and,
Can we eliminate all the ums and ands?
yes, of course. But
Thanks.
but we can have exactly what you say minus
any of
the
those we
ums,
can
ands, and
eliminate.
the stumbling of the words, definitely.
Yes.
So that's definitely doable.
We can delete my stammering.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
But we
okay.
can either start doing that from this meeting forward, or we can go back and change the October minutes. I will leave that up to you guys, what
So if
you
the
want
rest
to
of
do.
the commission is okay with it, I'll move to approve as stated this time with just a specific note moving forward.
I'm okay with that.
I so move.
Motion is second. Call for a vote, please.
Clint Horner. Drew Jackson.
Aye.
Kevin Keener.
Aye. Next item is the approval of minutes from our special planning commission meeting on October 29th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Motion is second. Call for a vote, please.
Clint Horner. Drew Jackson.
Aye.
Kevin Keener.
Aye. Shane said he'd be here in about 10 minutes, so do I have a motion to move item 3, the motion to go to item 3, and we'll come back to item 2.
I move to skip to item 3, come back to item 2.
Motion is second. Call for a vote, please.
Clint Horner. Drew Jackson.
Aye.
Kevin Keener.
Aye. Item 3 is PC 2020-26, consideration, the request approval of a final plat for property located near Thomas Way and Joe Bullard. Is it Drive or Boulevard?
I think it's Drive.
Okay. Ms. Barker?
So this is the final plat for the Linden Woods townhomes that are off of First in that area. The public improvements have been completed. Most of the structures have been built as well. The biggest difference that there was within the final plat from the preliminary plat is some of the setbacks are a little different than in the preliminary plat. Most of them are just like inches, basically, difference, but I wanted to make sure to have that noted. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The applicant was unable to make the meeting or have a representative present this evening, but I'll try to do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
So from the PDF, it was not high enough quality to zoom in and view the numbers, so
Okay.
I couldn't tell what the
Okay.
differences were.
Okay, let me see if I can't. And I have the actual plat too.
Was that the only difference was
That was the only difference was the setback. Like I said, most of it was a few inches. I'm trying to look here. One of them was like less than, what, I think that one may have been like tenths of an inch. So the other one, I think there may have been one that was maybe about a foot difference, but there wasn't. Trying to read it. That one was another one that was 19.5. I can get the final plat if you'd like to look at the 11 by 17 version of.
I'm mainly just curious in the differences.
Yeah, it's not. Let me go ahead and grab it real quick. I'm not sure I'm remembering off the top of my head.
I couldn't. No, I tried as well.
I did notice you marked on there that or that you wrote that you highlighted,
Yes.
but I couldn't read.
Yeah, and it was, no matter how I did it, it was hard to read, to put it in the packet. So I'm like, okay, how am I gonna do this? So the way I did obviously didn't work very well. Man, I can't even read that one. Yeah, it's the one on the far, that'd be the northwest side, is maybe an inch difference or an inch and a half, looks like. Because this isn't the best either, by the way. And the other ones, like I said, most of them are inches. There might be one that's about 6 inches or 8 inches or something, but it's not a big deal. And I talked with Mark Hall about it, and he didn't have any issues with it. But with it being a little different, we wanted to bring it to you guys to make sure that you were aware of it and if you had any issues with it.
Of all the other department heads, are they satisfied with the?
We talked with everybody within Public Works, Fire Marshal, and the building official. The only issue is there's a water meter that got covered up with dirt, and they have not been able to uncover that. So that's the only issue that we have. Uh, 16 feet is probably a little shorter than what we normally see. Right, within the PUD, that's that flexibility that it has in there, and I think that may have been in there. I don't remember what the original PUD had on there for parking lot size, if it did. Yeah, they're a little.
We'll make a note that Shane, what time? Okay. What time he arrived? Thank you. I don't remember those parking places being that. I remember approving the PUD, but I don't remember them being that.
And I remember on the PUD initially, the biggest thing that was a change was the road width as well as the parking, the on-street parking. But I'm not recalling, and I don't even remember seeing it in the minutes or anywhere talking about the length.
I don't know that we discussed. I remember
That we may not have.
And also, but the width, it seems a little bit short.
Right.
And I just want to make sure it got approved and is accepted by.
No
Whoever
one,
needs to accept
whenever
it.
I asked the department heads, that was the only issue that was brought up, was about the water meters. So I'm assuming that everything's fine.
The 16 feet.
The depth, yeah. Well, I think that it's the 16 out to before it makes this radius is what it looks like.
Some it's 15 and a half, some is over 16 feet, almost 17 feet. It's just there. I don't want to get stuck on that, but I just want to make sure it's been addressed.
I would assume it has. Because that was not brought up as an issue. And they do have to do permits for all the sidewalk or the concrete and all. So
We need to wait until that's confirmed. It's not an issue, or
I will leave that up to you, how you want to handle it. This is, but I don't know, on the final plat itself, the parking is not on there. So, what I'm guessing is,
It just seems like it was part of the PUD, something to do with
okay,
may have been the
that's-
drives. I don't know if it was the drives and parking, but
Right, it was the drives and parking, and that was you're looking at the preliminary plat on that. So I don't know what the size actually turned out to be.
Okay.
But that
I know
preliminary-
that we had a church come in and requesting 18 feet, and we denied the request and made it 20 feet. We just need to be consistent in what we're approving for
Right.
this committee.
Right. Yep, I agree. Because on the
Memory, I
preliminary,
thought we
well,
were just narrowing the roadway, not the parking spaces. I thought that was so that way you could get appropriate parking.
is it listed? Do you have?
the final plat does not have the parking on it. It was just a preliminary plat that was approved that had the parking on it.
But the part of the PUD was.
Was the on-street parking and the the road. And I think on the, if I remember right, and I'd have to go back and pull those minutes, but if I remember right, that specific one actually turned into, they said that they'd go ahead and make it that 27 feet or whatever that width was, that was required. I forget what that width was now, but I'd
Yeah.
have to go back and pull it.
I guess we'll look to you for some guidance on if it, something that needs to be addressed or at least revisited before it's approved, or if it's something,
And you said they came back and had a statement of what it should be. Is that what you were saying?
That was what happened at the meeting, at the planning commission meeting, or city council, one of the two. They did sit there and say that, I believe it's planning commission, that they said that they'd have that road, whatever width it needed to be. I may be mistaken. I don't have those minutes in front of me, but
Is that documented?
yes, it is. I remember reading it, but I just can't remember. I don't have it in front of me.
So are these already built out? Do they have a letter of occupancy?
They do not yet, I don't believe. Well, I take that back. Some of them do, because people are living in them, but others are not completely done yet. And we don't issue, I don't think we issue COs for residential. We just have a final.
I would think that stuff would need to be verified before
Yeah.
we approve. I mean, I don't feel like I have the information to say one way or the other. Does it meet, does it not?
I would
The answer is I
assume,
don't
like I
know.
said, the preliminary plat that you all are looking at, that was approved by you and by city council. So what the parking actually is, I do not know. No one went out and measured it. So I don't know what the actual parking is, and that's not on the final plat.
do we make a motion that approval upon verifying that it meets what was approved? If there's any, is there a way to make that, make a motion in that regard?
Yeah, you can do that. And we can have staff go out and measure the parking spots.
Or just at least make sure it is what was approved. I just want to, I think that may be the question, is just make sure that they did what was approved.
As far, like I said, the only thing that's different from the preliminary plat, and I, like I said, and normally when we could do a final plat, to my knowledge, we don't go out and know exactly what the parking spot size is. But with the final plat, that doesn't have it on there, so we'd have to have a staff person go out and measure what that width of, or what that depth of the parking spot is. And even then, I don't know what we do, because it's all, like, all the infrastructure's in, and most of the housing units are built, at least the exterior of them. So I'm not sure.
Who goes out there? The street department? Do they go out there?
The street department handles, and it
So
handles yeah.
That supervisor signed off on this
I would assume so. He has not been in the office for me to talk to.
before we bring this to a final plat. Do we need those signatures?
We typically have just the department head saying that they're okay with it. Unfortunately, Marty might be able to answer, but the street department head is out of the office and never got back with me. So
Okay.
Would it be easier if we have a motion that we approve the final plat as long as these 4 setbacks are the only changes to the preliminary plat?
we can do that.
Would that be easier or less confusing?
Another option would be to, have staff verify, and, this commission can approve via email.
Well,
I don't know that
my
we can
concern
do
is we're approving a plat that I've not been at. So I want these people, the department heads, signing off on them before it usually brings to us.
I agree.
So that's something that probably needs to happen before we do this. So if we need to table it until that happens, it's probably what we need to do.
I really think that ought to be standard procedure, to have signatures signed off on each portion before it comes here.
And they sign off on the building permit. So, and I don't know if this particular building permit has everybody's signature on it, but I would assume it has, because it's been built. So and we don't typically sign off on it until it has been built.
We
Or, I'm
just don't
sorry,
have- we just don't
until-
have any evidence of approval, saying that it's what we agreed to on the preliminary plat.
And like I said, Marty might be able to, if if John mentioned anything to Marty by chance about the streets, but like I said,
I haven't heard anything from John about the streets.
Okay. I haven't either. He
And
hasn't
To be
replied.
honest, I'm not familiar with this plat enough to speak on it
Okay.
either way.
I have a
Is it
question.
a private drive or a public street?
It's a public street.
Because that makes a difference too.
Yep.
That's a-
They wanted it a public street.
A new form can be developed to allow the department heads to sign off as a part of the process. I mean, that's not a big deal. It
Right,
can't
and
be on the
that's-
plat, that's not where it belongs, but just something inter-office kind of. Usually they ask the department head, and the department head goes and looks, and if they have a problem, they give that information back to her.
And I
That's
do
pretty
email all the
standard.
heads
Yeah.
to get information back. And usually that happens. This is the one time that this particular has not been in the office.
I
You
think,
can do a motion and put a contingent that
Correct.
it meets the guidelines, whatever you think it needs to meet. And that way, as long as she goes out there and measures and it's exactly what the plat shows, it goes through. If it doesn't, it's gonna come back because it wasn't passed.
Isn't the, this is just a question. Isn't the final plat the survey that comes in, that's got all the different signature areas on it for all the
Correct.
different departments? Well,
It's not all departments because they don't need
well, I
that.
know not the departments, but there's the county, the
Right.
city, the surveyor, all
Right.
of that. And this, like
That's
this
just a
was,
snapshot of it. It's in your
Oh.
packet.
if it's any
but
smaller
it's-
than the one
it's
that's
small,
here, then
8.5
there's no
by
way to
11.
read it.
They should have a full-size one in the office. I mean,
Yep.
obviously.
I have
that's
11 by
understandable.
17 version of it, but that's the full final plat.
the resolution on the PDF
Which
was
one
not
was you
high
looking at?
enough
I
to read it.
didn't, yeah, I didn't see it.
It's right here. It's toward the end of the packet.
Okay.
And I don't know how else to make the resolution clear, but we'll try to see what we can do to make that better.
Yeah, I zoomed in on my computer yesterday, but it's,
Marty, I do think it'd be really helpful to have signatures, even if it just be on a, inter-office memo, having each one sign off on a, final plat or something
Might
like
help
that.
cover you.
I think would be
And
helpful.
we can start doing that if you'd like to.
Just speaking personally, not a
Yeah.
motion, but I would probably be more in favor in tabling or, doing a email vote later.
I'm not sure that we can do an email vote via state statutes for a public meeting, for open meeting.
Public hearing. So
Yeah,
probably-
it'd have to be, you'd have to have another meeting.
Even if that's the motion made during a public hearing, because we've done that before.
Right, but the way it is now, even before, you can't have an email vote because it's a public meeting and not everybody can get to your email. So you'd have to have another meeting. You could not do a vote over email.
You can't take, it'll come right back to you next month and you can have one answer, but
So it's either a table or approval with some contingencies. Sounds like whatever y'all are in favor of. Yeah, I agree with that. It'd be nice to have all the information for us and to be able to see it clearly and plainly. And I guess there's really no check on, we can have a motion that's contingent upon department heads approving it. It's not when you have to, a lot of people have to sign off on it anyway, but
Right. And
I
like I
think
said,
the reason
only-
that this is a sticking point for me is this was the reason for the PUD. It's the whole reason we did it, so if they didn't meet, what we set forth in preliminary plat and PUD, basically we've allowed them to just push through the system without any checks. Not saying they have, I'm just,
I mean, you're changing the rules already with PUD. Make them stick to it. Not your fault. They can't.
But right, and like I said, I've heard from every other department head except for streets. But they're out of the office, so they can't respond.
right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
John's been in quarantine for the last week and a half.
Good.
Well, even before then, he never responded to an email.
Um,
So,
check- we check that.
I'm in motion. We table it until we get all signatures.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight,
Yes.
Clint Horner,
Aye.
Drew Jackson, Kevin Keener.
Aye. I think what we're going to do is, I'll need some help with this because I've never had a is it recess this one?
Well, we can. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the way to do it, considering the regional's supposed to start 10 minutes ago.
You table it and take it, that'll automatically put it on the meeting.
We usually recess,
Right, and then
we
we,
recess out.
right, we can, and that's how council does it, recess out and
And
then
then
come
we
back.
can get back, get out of that.
Everybody opposed to the recess and then come back.
Yes, but You could sit there and do the meeting and recess.
Then recess that one. Come back to this.
And then close out the
Okay.
planning. Well, you can either recess it, you can do it, or you can take care of the planning commission or the regional planning commission, and then come back to play.
You gotta put this all in one video?
That's a good question. I don't know how we.
Well, we didn't talk about recess now.
Right, I didn't think it was gonna be a problem, but,
Whatever you want.
Sorry.
um,
So, yeah, I don't know what,
let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and recess from the planning commission. We'll open the regional planning commission. And since we have several here for the regional planning commission, let's go ahead and take care of that one, and then we can come back.
reconvene to this one.
Oh, yeah, that's canceling, okay.
So what's the procedure to recess?
Ask for motion to recess the planning commission.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move for recess in favor of regional planning and zoning.
Second.
Not yet. Do we have a second for that? For a motion to recess the municipal? We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight,
Aye.
Clint Horner, Drew Jackson,